welcome to this week's episode of Car Makeup. I just finished recording, and what you're about to see in this video is super fun. If you are a beauty content creator, you're gonna wanna take notes. I give a live bio audit of a beauty content creator on Instagram. We talk through some beauty news about the shift between calling yourself a content creator back to influencer and why I think influencers got a bad rap for so many years. And then I wrapped it up highlighting some of the partnerships that I'm seeing between the beauty industry and the professional sports world. So if that sounds interesting to you, let's go. Car makeup, we're doing car makeup, and I'm bringing you some beauty trends. Hey, welcome to Car Makeup. The first time I am doing this for YouTube. YouTube is the future and the past and will just never go away. So I'm pandering to the audience, long format content, one time a week, ? We'll see. Join me here in my car, a Kia Sorento on the Lower East Side of Manhattan as we wait for the street sweeping side to end. It's about 90 minutes every week. I typically sit here and create content anyway, so I'm bringing you with me. We are going to be doing 2 profile audits. I ran a little mini giveaway on my threads recently for beauty content creators since I'm a beauty marketing specialist. And I picked 2 winners. And they asked me to audit their Instagram accounts. So typically when people pay for a profile audit, they have the option for me to audit either their Instagram or their TikTok. And I always look at the same areas and give advice from the same perspective. I'm looking at this as though I am a brand or someone who is casting them for a future campaign. What am I seeing? What could they improve upon immediately? I send it via voice notes in DM on IG. So that is what we're going to do right now to kick us off. And then after that, maybe we will get into a little bit of beauty news and what I have been seeing around the beauty industry recently. Both of these people are actually lip service members. They're part of my free community on Geneva, and they have been for more than a year. So I was really excited that they were the winners because I love to reward people who are loyal. Right? I think a giveaway is nice to attract new followers, but really at the end of the day, I like a giveaway that rewards people who have already been around supporting me. And I always recommend that for others as well. I always take a screenshot of the profile and then I start by DMing that to them. Hey, Taylor, this is the beginning of your profile audit. I'm so excited to send it to you. First and foremost, I'm going to take a look at your actual profile. So when I land on your page from a brand or casting perspective, what am I seeing? First, I want to go over the name section. So the area that lands above your head. Right now it says Tay_cray, and I just don't think that's doing you justice. I would love for you to update that and go ahead and make it a little bit more search friendly. Instead of it being your full name, I would love for it to be more search engine optimized and include what I'll be finding on the account. So that name area, I think, should read Taylor makeup demos and personal bloopers, or makeup demos and fun bloopers. I want it to be something so that people are going to know how to search for you. Now, I would love for your bio overall to be a lot more specific. How can we bring in more about your age, your skin type, your skin concerns? What types of makeup are you demoing and from what perspective? I just think we could be a little bit more specific here. So that's really something for you to brainstorm on once you hear this. This goes for everyone. In the name section on IG or TikTok, you have the opportunity to make more of an imprint than you are doing with your handle, right? So her handle's at Tay_cray, but her name section, she just has her first and last name. That's fine, that makes sense, but that name section is actually search engine optimized. So I typically suggest that creators use their first name plus a few words that describe them and their account. So if you are really, over 40 beauty tutorials, it should say over 40 beauty tutorials. For myself, as an example, I have Sonia, my first name, beauty marketing consultant. I do that, and creator mentor. I also do that. So if someone was searching creator mentor, I would potentially pop up. If someone was searching beauty marketing, I would potentially pop up, right? That's why it's really important to change that name section to something that if people were searching for a category on the platform that you're on, that you would pop up. So this is why I'm telling Taylor that it needs to be a little bit more specific there. So next up, once you change that name section to something a little bit more descriptive, is that you could actually toggle off the beauty, cosmetic, and personal care category. So while it is important to categorize yourself on your profile, if you go into the profile settings, it actually has a toggle where you can say, don't show that on the profile. I always remove it because it gives you a little bit more space, and people don't really need to see that for your account to be categorized. And it's not going to remove the fact that you selected that category, but it is going to remove it from the visual of your profile, which gives you a little bit more space. Then in terms of the actual meat of the profile here, you have makeup demos plus bloopers, Hartford, Connecticut, and then your email. I, of course, always want you to have your email. I think that the location is good to have as well. Because you're in Hartford, I would go ahead and say that you could put there NYC-CT, because I know it's not too heavy of a lift for you to come to New York. Like, you've made it to the city for events before, and there's nothing holding you back from potentially coming in again. So if you want brands to know that you're available for New York City events, you need to say that you're in New York City. Now, I know you don't live in New York City, so that's why you're also going to say /CT. You don't need to have the specific city there. And then, like I mentioned, for the makeup demos and bloopers portion, I do think that we need to evolve this forward. I'd like to see a stronger statement from you that would better capitalize on someone landing on this profile and saying, I want to follow, or saying, oh, I'm interested in contacting her for a potential partnership. You know, makeup demos and bloopers is very straightforward. That is what you're going to get. But maybe we can move this needle forward and saying, you know, specializing in makeup demos for, and then I want you to give a little bit more context around, you know, people who would look and feel like you, and, you know, highlighting reality through bloopers, right? That you're both giving laughs, you're both uplifting, and you're giving educational content. Then lastly is going to be the profile image itself. I don't mind this profile image. It looks like you're inside a car or something. I would suggest trying to find an image that feels a little bit more well lit, a little brighter, and that has a little bit of a pop of color. I always want this to be the first kind of branding statement that you take everywhere with you. Same image should be used across every single profile, but I always like when people have either wearing a pop of color or they cut themselves out and put them on a background that is a pop of color. I think it's just good for memory and visual recognition across platforms. And if you have a signature color, you can start to use that as a branding moment. Maybe you pick an emoji that's also that color that's going to be your signature emoji. It starts to give you an option to like build your personal brand. Okay, so that is it for the beginning of the profile audit, where I, you know, land on their profile and I give them the gist of those three main areas: name and SEO search, profile, bio image, and then the meat of the profile. From here, I always go into the actual content. What am I seeing from an outward perspective before I dive in on every post? Going into the actual content itself, before I go into every single post, I always just like take a look at the feed from a grid view. Now, most people don't view a grid this way, but brands definitely do if they're searching for you and finding you for the first time. One major thing I see right away is that your reels don't have any covers. There's no context as to what I'm seeing here. And I think that's a really big miss. I know in one of Adam Mosseri's interviews, he did talk about how reel covers can be very important, not only in the SEO within Instagram, but also for people following you or people landing on your profile for the first time. If I'm scrolling through this, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to get in each one of these reels unless I click into it. So if you think about it that way, it's a little bit annoying to click into each one and not exactly know what you're going to get. This is a piece of feedback both for the feed as a grid view and each reel individually. There has to be copy on the post to give context. I like it at the first 1 or 2 seconds, a fairly well visible one-liner that explains what the video is going to be about. I believe it's about 50% of people are listening to reels and stories with the sound off, which means that you need to be able to feed to those people why they should keep watching your video from the very get-go, right? A lot of people call this a hook, but if I'm not listening with sound on, I don't hear the hook. I need to see what the hook is. So I really like to develop a one-liner that captures people's attention as to why I need to watch this. For example, I see that one of your first posts is with a lawless blush, or one of your most recent ones is with that lawless blush. The one-liner there could be, swatching the new lawless blush collection, which is your favorite, or using the new lawless blushes in 30 seconds or less, incorporating new lawless blushes into my makeup routine, right? You're giving the people a little snippet of what they're about to watch and experience so that they can decide on some level, is this relevant to me? Do I want to watch it? All of what I just said is true. So I hope you take that for your own Instagram accounts as well. Covers or having a still from within the video that has a little bit of info about what this video is about is actually very important in gaining traction on those videos. Now I'm going to go back to her profile and start to watch a little bit of this content and see, if there's anything that I can call out. Immediately, I am seeing that there is some lighting that she's using, some artificial light, and it's feeling a little yellow to me. She's a very fair-skinned person. So I think that she really needs to be careful with the yellow tones in her lights. And it looks like she just needs to turn up the brightness on the cool tone. So that's what I'm going to tell her next. Next thing I'm noticing just from the grid view is that there is a bit of an inconsistency with your lighting. So it looks like sometimes you are using artificial light, which is fine because we can't always shoot in natural light. Sometimes it's just not an option for us that day. But on the ones where you are shooting with artificial light, it looks like your light is pulling really yellow. And because you're so fair-skinned, you can see kind of like a drastic difference between those and when you're shooting in natural light. So I would really recommend taking a look at that a bit more closely and adjusting that lighting. Go more to the cool side of the lighting settings to help balance that out a bit because you are pulling a little bit yellow. Let's go ahead and go into the actual videos themselves. Typically, I watch anywhere from 3 to 6, sometimes more pieces of content, and then I give feedback as an overarching. I can't watch everything. Okay, this is the Lawless Blush one. So she does actually have text overlay. It's just very tiny, and she's doing a cream blush 101 tutorial. Now the lighting here does look very yellow on her. She's talking a lot while she gives a tutorial, and I wish that there were some closed captions there or some bullet points like step 1, do this, step 2, do this. I think people do really well digesting information when they see a summary of what's being said. The length is really good. The framing around her face is really good. Going into the content itself, so I watched just kind of the first 3 reels, and the framing around your face is really good. You're nice and tight, really close up. Like I said, I think the light is pulling a little bit yellow. I would definitely work to adjust that. Now, when I went into the reel itself, I did start to see that you have that really teeny tiny explanation of what's going on. make it bigger and make sure it fits within the square when you're scrolling. So you have yours pretty low. But when you think about the way that you scroll on Instagram, you are typically in the timeline, right? You're in the regular feed, not necessarily the Reels tab. So when you're in the main scroll and you're scrolling, you're seeing everything either in a 1x1 window or a 4x5 window, which means that whatever text you put on the screen needs to land inside that window for the possibility that someone's going to tap in and open it up bigger. Then they would see it in the Reels tab, but right now it's likely getting cut off in that other tab, in the main feed tab. Hopefully that explanation was clear. I think the jargon around main feed and Reel tab is a little bit crazy, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying here. I think that those little, like the cream blush 101, I think is such like a good call out. I wish it was big and I wish that was the Reel cover, because if I was coming to your page and I saw that you were giving the 101 on cream blush, like I would instantly tap in and be like, great, I want to know. Next thing is you're doing a lot of talking and teaching, which is wonderful, but I'm not seeing that summarized on the Reel itself. So I'd love to see like a few bullets, right? Like apply with this type of brush, then another bullet, set with this, and then another bullet, do this, right? So that's really going to be helpful for you and for your audience to break down the steps and just provide clarity around what it is that you're teaching. In addition, this like creates a Reel that lends itself really well then to a carousel. I think not enough people are likely thinking through, how can I reuse one piece of content or one idea after I've already posted it? And for something like this, Cream Blush 101, this could easily be a still image that says Cream Blush 101 as the first slide. Second slide, step one, you don't even have to be using the video again. It could be just like a photo of the product with the description, right? But you already have the description because you just wrote it out as the text overlay for your Reel. So essentially you could go back and forth and be creating double the amount of content with each one of these tutorials. Video, these are the steps with the overlay. Save all the text overlay in your notes app, create the carousel that you post the following week on the exact same concept. Now, I know what you're thinking, is that going to be too much repetition? No. It is my biggest stronghold and something that I have to repeat over and over again to creators and brands, that it is not a problem to repeat yourself. We consume so much content every single day as humans that we often forget things. And also everybody learns differently. So just because the algorithm is pushing Reels doesn't mean that carousels don't hold value for people who prefer to read something than they do to watch something. It's really important that each one of your concepts can show up multiple times. It also takes a lot of pressure off of you if you want to start posting more, but you don't have time to record yourself so much. I'm going to give her a few more pieces of feedback. This one's really good because she starts with a look at the beginning. I think that she just needs to be tighter on that intro, right? Right now it starts with, so I wanted to show you guys how I got this, like the products I used to get this look, blah, blah, blah. Instead, it could be, this is how to achieve this really glowy summer look, into the video, right? The more that you delay at the beginning, the more of an opportunity you're giving people to swipe away. And you want to eliminate that opportunity. That first intro has to be strong. Now, a lot of people call that the hook, but if you feel nervous about a hook, which I think a lot of people do, honestly, I have a lot of people tell me, a lot of creators that I mentor and a lot of creators that I come in contact with tell me that they feel a lot of pressure around like the perfect hook. And I think that this is honestly generated from creator coaches, creator people who are selling different tools for creators, putting so much emphasis on like, oh, the hook, the first 1 second, the first 3 seconds, it has to be amazing. You have to think of the best like sentence ever. You have to capture every pieces of attention. Like, relax. Let's all relax. Okay. Let's all just take a deep breath together, because while the first couple seconds are really important, if you try to force it at the beginning, people can feel it. I love a video like this one where you actually record the beginning at the end when you're done recording everything else, because you know what? A few things. One, you're loose. once you're recording and you're talking and you get into it, you say a lot of things that are actually gold to put into the front of a video. That's something to remember every time that you're editing a reel or short form content. There's typically a little tiny soundbite that comes out very naturally in the middle of your video that deserves to be at the front. Let me tell you about the products that gets this summer glowy look. Still could be more direct. Want to achieve the perfect summer glowy look? These are the products I used. Then go into it, right? It adds a little, do you see like the spin is slightly different there? So that's something to think about if you want to record your hook at the end when you're looser. Another thing to think about is to just go for it. And when you're watching your video, find your most natural reaction, the best point that you think is going to guide people in, and put that at the front. Sometimes it's like a blooper, dropping something and being like, oh crap. Sometimes it's a good reaction, like the first swipe, and you're like, oh, that is beautiful. That should be at the front, right? Then take it away quickly and dive into, what is this product that's so beautiful? I want to know. Now my attention is piqued. You can't necessarily plan those things, and I honestly think it's better when you don't. So let me give her that feedback, and then that will be the end of this profile audit. Final piece of feedback. There is one video that you did that I really love where you start with the full look being done and you say like, hey, let me show you how to get this, blah, blah, blah. And then you go into the how to get the glowy look. I do really love that. I love starting with the final look and then going into the voiced over tutorial. I think that that hook though that you use, that one-liner to get people to come into the video, that could be stronger. Like there's so much hype around this look that I shared in stories. I had to break down the details for you guys. I've been getting so many requests on how to achieve this eye. This is what I used. Making that first statement a little bit more bold and a little bit more like problem solving. If you haven't nailed your summer look yet, here's how I got mine, right? Like that kind of draws people in a lot faster than kind of the soft, slower way that you're doing it right now. So take a look at that video specifically, because I think that's a perfect example of where you could be stronger in your statement and a little bit more bold in what you're saying. That is all for now. I really hope that this was helpful, and I think that you're doing a great job on your content. The quality is really good. I think play with that lighting, tune up the profile a little bit, and just really get more specific about who you are talking to. I think it's time to reveal more about your age, your skin type, things that you're struggling with. I think we all know by now that both on TikTok and Instagram, being personal and sharing a bit more about yourself really is what followers are looking for and what differentiates you from a lot of other people on these apps. So keep that in mind when you're doing your get ready with me, story times, anything like that. The more that you're willing to share, I think the faster you will attract new people to you. And there you have it. Such a fun profile audit. These are $35, very inexpensive. And I think I give a lot of feedback. Like it hits all of the main points without going too far, right? I can't get into her full content strategy for $35, but a lot of people who book a profile audit with me make those tweaks, start seeing improvements, and then they tend to come back and they want like a one-on-one session with me where we spend an hour going through their content strategy. And I really build out, how are we doing personal branding? What are the areas that we're landing in? What is your niche? Who are you speaking to? What are some content ideas that I can give you that will feed into these content buckets? How are you approaching, PR, and how are you featuring brands right now? How are you pitching brands right now? It's honestly kind of shocking how much we can get through in an hour session. And I'm realizing now I've been talking for 30 minutes and I didn't put any effing makeup on. They say that people can multitask. I am not people. I'm always so curious as how my makeup is going to turn out because I can only see myself in the little screen here. If I do this, you guys can't see me, which means I'm at the mercy of being very far away and teeny tiny here while I do my makeup. So I will be skipping the liquid wing liner today because there's no way I'm getting accuracy from this angle. Let's go ahead and take this into some creator news and an article I came across recently that deeply piqued my interest. So I also featured this in my 5 things on my email. So in my email that comes out right now 2 times a month, which is nice and easy and slow. So, nothing too crazy happening over here when it comes to emails. If you want to subscribe, don't feel like you're going to be overwhelmed by emails, because you won't be. But in those emails, I always feature a 5 things: podcast I'm listening to, article I'm reading, creator I'm loving, silly little thing, which is just like a fun bit and bob, and then product that I'm loving. This was actually the product that I was loving. And look, I match. I will be using this. But the article I'm reading, I feel like deserves airtime. The article is from Business of Fashion, written by Diana Pearl. The widening gap between influencers and creators. Now, I really thought that this was a great article because I have been in influencer marketing for more than a decade. 2013, 2014, I was working with influencers. Back then, we called them bloggers. This was before we even labeled them influencers. And way back when, we started to use the term influencer, and you know what? Nobody had a problem with it. People were excited to be called influencers. And then a switch was flipped. My friends, a switch was flipped. And people started to hate the word influencer, and they wanted to be called creators. And you know what? I was okay with that. Technically, an influencer does create. But now, apparently, and according to this article, people are more comfortable being called influencers again. And this has only started to happen in the past, I guess, year or so. They interview Daos Mendoza, who I love, a beauty content creator on TikTok. His tutorials and get readies with me are like so freaking hilarious. I love them deeply, and I discovered him years ago, and I've just loved seeing his account skyrocket. But he says, for a long time, the thought of referring to himself by the term influencer was just so icky, preferring the more neutral sounding creator. But now he said he has begun to reconsider his relationship with the influencer label. While many ordinary users of social media use the term influencer and creator interchangeably, the difference between the two are becoming increasingly apparent. While creators draw Gen Z viewers to TikTok and Instagram with entertaining content, it's often influencers who complete the sale, convincing their followers to actually buy products. And that's true. I believe that if you create content, unless you are creating faceless content and UGC where you really don't, you're just giving vibes, you're an influencer in my book. And I've been doing this for a very long time. So it's always given me like an eye roll when people wanted to be called like content creator. Like, no, I'm a content creator. I'm like, okay, well, if you push any affiliate sales, if you have any brand partnerships where you are asking people to convert, you're an influencer. You're an influencer. You use influence, you use your connection with your community to sell things sometimes. And that's not a bad thing. That's actually a really freaking cool thing. Like, the idea that someone trusts you enough, who likely has never even met you, to recommend something, and then they're going to use their hard-earned dollars to purchase that recommendation. I think people should be honored to be called influencers. It's not like, I think this is honestly what happened. I'm going to give you my breakdown as like an elder millennial who watched this career evolve over the past 10 years. When we hit the fever pitch of influencer marketing, I would say 2017 to 2020 were peak years. Every brand was spending tons of money on influencers, and influencers were getting insane brand deals. This was pretty much all the way until COVID and through the first year of lockdown, because we didn't have the opportunity to do other types of photo shoots and other types of spend. So we were using a lot of money on influencers. During that time, a lot of young people became influencers. They were leaving high school, not excited to go to college, unsure of what they wanted to do in life. And they were watching people who were just a few years older than them, ink brand deals, make $10,000 on a post, be flown to Thailand. Like, they were watching this happen and they said, yes, this looks like an attainable way to essentially be a miniature celebrity. Sign me up. And I don't blame them. It actually says in this article that that YouTube did a study where 65% of Gen Z considers themselves a creator at this point. And this started about 5 years ago, I would say somewhere between 3 to 5 years ago, when people in high school started to say that their career choice, their career goal was to become an influencer. Now, a lot of older people rolled their eyes. I was like, hell yeah, let's get it. Because I knew that digital marketing, social media marketing, influencer marketing was the future for every single brand. There was no escaping it. There was no tiptoeing around it. You would have to embrace it on some level. And with so many young people flooding the market, people who had not yet gone to college or were in college, people who had not yet had full-time careers, what unfortunately happened to the influencer marketing industry was we got a lot of people who are inexperienced in how to do business into it. And I'm not trying to say this as a like young people are stupid type scenario. That's not what I'm saying at all. This is the facts. When you are young and you had not yet had corporate experience, full-time job experience, finished your degree, etc., you don't yet have the skills to understand proper email etiquette, back and forth with brands, marketing, ROI, contracts, right? Those are all things that you have to learn over time. And these people just hadn't learned them. And so unfortunately, some people did not show up correct, as I say. They ghosted on deals. They did not adhere to guidelines in a contract. They delivered late. They didn't show up to events that they said that they would be at. Essentially, they just didn't act like good professionals. And I don't blame them because they hadn't yet been taught those skills. Like, you don't know what you don't know, right? So that's where I think people really got a distaste for the industry, because we started to see young people get paid a lot of money and some of them not deliver how they were supposed to deliver, not show up in a very professional manner. And so it gave people a lot of bad taste in their mouth. In addition to that, I think some creators were getting paid huge sums of money, disclosing that and not necessarily pulling back the curtain behind like how much work it takes to become that level of influencer, their team structure, how much they pay for other things, video editing, platforms, travel. A lot of people were spending a lot of money in those peak times on luxury goods so that they could keep up appearances. There was just a lot going into it that I think the day-to-day consumer was never seeing. And so they were thinking like, why should this kid get paid $10,000 for this? This is so stupid. And that's how influencing got a bad name. You can put that down in the history books if you like. I feel very certain that it was a lack of education around the industry meets a youth culture that had not yet come into their own when it comes to business dealings. That made for a very rough patch for the term influencer. But it does really bring me joy that more people are understanding that if you show up online and you recommend a product, you offer an affiliate link, you essentially push a brand forward in any sense of the word, you're an influencer. I'm an influencer in my own right. I come online and I influence creators to do certain things. Sometimes I influence creators to work with me. Sometimes I influence brands to work with me. Sometimes I influence people on the makeup that I use, right? Even though that is not my goal, it doesn't mean that I'm not doing it. It doesn't mean that I don't sometimes offer affiliate links for the things that I recommend. I do. So technically, I'm an influencer. To me, more people now than ever before, and every day it grows and grows, are influencers. Whether you have 100 followers, 1,000 followers, 100,000 followers, 1,000,000 followers, you have an influence. And if you're putting that influence online, you are an influencer. That's it. That's how it goes. So I think that this article brings to light a really great transition that is happening in the influencer marketing industry, which is more people are owning the fact that they are influencers, and I like to see it. Wrapping up today's car makeup, we have a few more places on the face to hit. I want to turn my attention to the collaboration between the beauty industry, beauty brands, and professional sports. This has excited me to watch it develop. I'm shocked it hasn't happened sooner, but this year I think we're going into peak support of these two industries, and I like to see it. Right now, a few places that I will highlight. First and foremost, the Olympics. Glossier announced that they will be sponsoring the US basketball women's national team. They've created such cute content around this. The pink basketball, I die. I'm not personally a basketball fan. I am very sporty. I love sports and like yay women, anything. But I think that the content that they have created, both with the players as well as like making these cutesy little moments around the pink basketball, so cute. And I kind of like hate that Glossier is pink because I feel like pink women, like women love pink, and now we're doing like a little pink basketball. I hope that doesn't like minimize the players in any way. It's literally just their branding that's being applied to the ball. It's not like women, you get pink. It's like Glossier, you get pink. I think everybody gets that, but you know how men be. Love that. Love, love, love. I can't wait to see what else rolls out. I believe today is the opening ceremonies day. Thursday, the 26th. Yes. Today is the first opening ceremonies for the Olympics. So I fully expect that all of the basketball athletes will be using Glossier in their look for opening ceremonies. I can't wait to see what content they make around that. Also, speaking of basketball, Laneige sponsored the Phoenix Mercury, which is the WNBA team in Phoenix. They did a very cute pop-up in the Scottsdale, Phoenix area recently, I saw, where you could come and like get pampered by a bunch of brands. You could get stuff from Laneige. I believe you got to meet the players as well. I love this collab. Like, of all people, Laneige, I did not see it coming from them. And honestly, I need to read more around like what their CEO or PR team says as to like why they went there, why they went to Phoenix, why they decided basketball. It's not an obvious for me. I mean, not that Glossier isn't obvious. I think it's just more like Laneige. Glossier tends to be like very forward thinking in their marketing strategy in general. Laneige has always been great with marketing. Their content is very good, and I have no negative things to say about them. When I read it, I was like, that is an interesting move. When I read the news from Glossier, I didn't feel that same like, I felt like, oh yeah, of course they did. Now, that's nothing negative on Laneige. It's just like how I feel. Okay, come on. I'm going to have to pull this down. I can't do the brows from this far away, people. Keep listening, but as I talk, even if you can't see me. So I think that is really interesting. I need to read more into that. What do you guys think? Like, do you think I know why women's basketball, because there's been so much talk about how male athletes, especially in basketball, get paid so significantly higher. So yeah, I'm very interested in seeing how those partnerships develop over time and throughout like the Olympics and the professional season. I also saw that Kiss Nails is doing some sponsorships with some of the gymnasts, the US Olympic gymnasts. They are sponsoring and doing some content around them with their press-ons. I am actually an avid press-ons user. These are press-ons, not Kiss, but I do use Kiss a lot. They have really good ones. If you're looking for natural nails to use as a UGC creator, I always recommend that anyone who does UGC has an arsenal of press-on natural nails, because you just never know what a brand is going to want And if you have on a manicure that does not align with the brand, that is a big no-no, and I'm not going to approve it. And other brands won't either. So you really want to make sure that you have like a good amount of options. And Kiss is a great way to go. They are more of an old school brand, but they have money. So I can see why they were able to do it over other brands. I really wish it was Olive and June, if I'm being honest. These are from Chill House, which I like. They're not my number one. I would say Olive and June is my number one press-ons brand. And then maybe Chill House. I'm not loyal after that. I bounce around depending on what style I want, but Olive and June is my top tier favorite. And I wish it was them who had sponsored an Olympian, but they probably don't have it in the budget right now. They're still kind of like a small-ish brand. But I'm loving seeing this collab between, and there's also a hair brand. I don't know if it's Kerastase or Wella. We're gonna have to fact check this and put it over the screen right here because I don't think either of those are the actual brand. But they sponsored 3 professional athletes in a hair makeover before the Olympics. I believe one of them was Ali Reisman. One I think is Serena Williams. Oh, this is a very non-researched commentary here, but there is another hair sponsorship that is going on around the Olympics. So as you can see, the trend in marketing right now is go sports. And I love it because I'm a sporty gal. I think someone is probably going to do something with the soccer team as well. The U.S. women's soccer team always crushes the competition, which I love to see as a past soccer player. And it just brings me joy that people are using their marketing dollars to branch out from the typical sponsorships and try something new. And, you know, build some buzz, get some like really cool content. There's nothing worse. And I hope that this doesn't happen to Kiss because I saw like one of the commercials or one of the like little brand spots that they did with the gymnasts. And I was like, this feels very stiff, I gotta say, which to me means that they didn't give a lot of creative freedom and they didn't really think like social first on it. The Laneige and the Glossier content that I've seen has been top-notch, superb, but I do hope to see a lot of good content come out of these partnerships because there's nothing worse than when a brand pays a lot, and I mean a lot of money for a sponsorship like this, a collab opportunity like this, and then the creative really falls flat. Oh, that hurts my heart. As a creative, that hurts my heart. As a marketer, I'm like, that's a tough pill to swallow to see a brand spend well over 50K, easy over 50K on a brand partnership like this, and then the creative be like, wah, wah. Could have been cooler. So yeah, that all goes to say, make sure you have a social person in the room when you are ideating a big campaign, because a social person will be able to say, well, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this? And come up with a ton of ideas for you, or at least they should be able to. Or you should be hiring an outside consultant to come in and help your team execute additional content that will be great and social first, because what is all of this for besides to elevate the presence of the brand and the cause at hand, women's athletics? And if you aren't making good content that people want to share and get excited with, then you are not doing the partnership justice. And there you have it. Those are your lessons for this week's car makeup. I haven't done a lippy yet. Hold, please. Let's wrap it up with a lip, of course. The channel's called Lip Service. How do we leave without a lip? I'm going to do this stain that I also used on my cheeks. This milk jelly lip stain. I deeply wanted to buy all the colors, but I really held back because I have so many lip stains. But I love it. Also, I just got Botox and I got a lip flip, and so like my top lip. She looks juicy. Okay. Thank you so much for joining me today for car makeup. I'll see you next week.